Welcome to our show, Family Matters. Family Matters is a weekly live show on CYC at 10 p.m. Eastern Time when I review a topic and I wait for your questions and responses. For the past several months, I have tried to cover topics that, in my opinion, either dealing with raising children, relations between a husband and wife, or contemporary issues challenging our families. I am honored all the time to receive your comments and questions, whether anonymous or if you can write your name, and I will never, of course, mention your name. Today's topic is a very dear topic to me. How into a leader? I just want to begin by saying there are two types of people, a follower and a leader. And in today's culture, unfortunately, many of our children, we are worried that they may become followers. Because unfortunately, to be a follower today may actually result that this person may not be focused on heaven. I am sure you want to make your son the best. And one of the characters and abilities and faculties you wish your son to have is to become a leader. As St. Paul mentioned in Ephesians, we are no longer to be children tossed here and there by waves and carried about by every wind of doctrine, by the trickery of men, by the craftiness in deceitful scheming, but speaking the truth in love, we are to grow up in all aspects into Him who is the head, Christ. So, to become a follower, you will be tossed here and there. To become a follower, you will follow every kind of doctrine, every trick of a man, every craftiness by a deceitful scheming. And of course, we all know the common saying, do not be deceived, bad company corrupts good character. So what are the dangers of being a follower? Why this is such an important topic? To become a follower, more than likely your son or daughter will have a weak personality. Their ability to say no, which is such an important word, and one of the very early words we all learned when we were little babies, he may not be able to say it. He does not have the courage, the bravery to stop against somebody and say, stop, no, I don't want to do it. I don't like what you're doing. Also, to be a follower could lead into loss of responsibility or not taking responsibility in a strong manner. We are after creating ladies and gentlemen who are going to grow to become responsible moms and dads, husbands and wives. If you raise up a follower, more than likely you will raise up a man who does not want to take responsibility, or a woman who's always pushing away any responsibility as if it's not hers. Another important issue that can happen due to being a follower is low self-image. Because this person who becomes a follower always wants somebody to verify and confirm what he's doing, unfortunately, your son or daughter, when they grow up, when they don't have this confirmation, they develop what we call low self-esteem because of a poor confidence in themselves. Being a follower can result in weak confidence and subsequently low self-esteem. And all of you may know that low self-esteem will result in many other consequences, including trying to identify with maybe wrong friends because they need to have company, and because they have low self-image, they want anyone to really confirm them, to really encourage them, and sometimes it's not the right crowd. Following also can lead into blind following. I wish when our kids grow up to become followers, they choose whom to follow. I have no problem if they follow the right leader, the leader who teach them how to go to heaven, a leader who teach them better habits, a leader who can use their talents better. But unfortunately, our kids may be facing bad leaders who will end up by making them follow the wrong track and going into the wrong direction. And who knows when they are going to realize it. So this is what we call a blind following a blind. The leader may be not blinded himself, but blind spiritually. But my son and my daughter, who is following blindly that blind leader, unfortunately will both fall into holes. Another consequence of following or being a follower is being superficial, being without depth. You meet many people in your work and your school and in your church that you love to talk to. They have depth. They, the discussion is amazing, is producing very good ideas. But then you stand with somebody else and you are waiting to leave. It's a very superficial, no depth in it, nothing of substance. Being a follower can lead your son or daughter to become superficial or lack of depth. Unfortunately, being a follower can be even more dangerous than that. They can actually be attached to the wrong crowd and the wrong friend and the wrong leader, and that can be hurtful. It can be harmful. A follower, like we have seen in terrorism, many of those kids who followed the wrong ideology and they believed in terrorism as a concept of religion, they were brainwashed because they were just followers and they harmed themselves and others. We want our kids, if they should follow the right path, the right ideology, and the right leader. Another bad thing that can happen through um, being a follower is carelessness, because he is always depending on somebody else. So he's not careful. He's not looking to produce something. He's not thinking what can happen. He is sort of blaming or ready to blame others. And that's another reason. A woman who grows to be and has been a follower, very easy to blame all her mom and dad on the marriage, and to blame the environment, and to blame the friends, and to blame Abuna, and to blame so many. But she doesn't want to take responsibility because she was never a leader. And that's why I'm talking to you parents today. And even if you are children, we would like you to be all leaders, and I'll explain how. But for the parents, these are some of the dangers of being a follower. So, what do they follow in? What are the spectrum or spectra that they are following in? and sometimes blindly following. One of them is fashion. Some of our most beautiful girls and very handsome boys in the churches today, because they are followers, they look at the media and they say, "Oh, I want to be like this." And all of a sudden, she is wearing not the right clothes, and he is wearing the inappropriate attire. And all of a sudden, we have a grown up men and ladies who are growing to be follower of fashion without this, without knowing if the fashion suits my physique, my size, my height, or even my religion. One of the areas that they may follow in is ideologies, concepts. If your son or daughter does not have self confidence and he is not a leader, maybe he will follow a wrong ideology, a wrong religion, a wrong dogma, a wrong thinking, belief. And all of a sudden, we find our kids completely sided away, scattered away, distracted from the pathway. Also, one of the areas they may be following in, and we need to watch out, is really following substance abuse. And I'm saying this with a lot of pain because I have got to know excellent kids who came from very good um, parents who really was unfortunately followed the wrong crowd, start to take substances, whether it's medications or marijuana or cocaine or others, and unfortunately they were lost. I got to know a kid who actually went to prison because of a hate crime, but preceded by being a follower to a gang, and just he wants to fit in. And unfortunately, they followed the wrong crowd. Thank God this person now is an amazing man. After 7 years in prison, he knew Christ in prison. He knew to read the Bible in prison. But why should we put our kids through that hardship and very, very difficult pathway? Also, one of the areas that they follow in is media. And media today is a place where to be a follower is very slippery slope. You can follow any social media, you can follow an actor or actresses, you can follow a boxer or a singer, and all of a sudden you want to identify with their concepts. Your kid will want to be like him, like her, the way they dance, the way they talk, the way they swing, the way they behave, the way their conduct is, the way maybe they smoke or drink. And all of this because they are followers. Being a follower also can be very dangerous if they are following the wrong goals. We all should have a major goal going to heaven and a minor goals which can be multiple, like having money and having a career and having home and having a cars. But what if he or she is following a person who have a different type of goal? A goal to have so much money regardless of where they get it. A goal to hurt people. A goal to bully people. Would you like your son or daughter to be a follower? Okay, enough with the negatives. I have told you enough, and I think you all know more than I do how much of this can be an issue about um, being a follower. Now, I have close to 15 points. I'm not sure if I'll cover them, depending on your questions. And these points are going just to be help in the way of how can you make your son a leader? How can you make your daughter a leader? I want to start by basics. Number one, You want your son or daughter to be a leader? Ask yourself, should I tell them to follow me? Are you, mom, dad, a leader or a follower? Are you a good role model for your kids or no? And this is a very, very sacred and secret and holy question. Whom are you following? Yourself, mom, dad. What are you following? If it's biblical truth, well and good. Tell your kids to follow you as you follow Christ. Can you, as a mom or dad, say no to many things, to fashion, to media, to spending time with the wrong crowd, to alcohol, to cigarettes? Believe me, my brother and my sister, if you want your son or daughter to be a leader, dare as a parent that you become a leader and you yourself say, dare to know how to say no when no is important in your own life as an adult. The second point is try to get your children to work out, to have sports, to participate in gym. And I want them to try out sports, not necessarily to succeed in sports. I didn't want your son to be an Olympic champion, but I want your son to be a swimmer, to try basketball, tennis ball, anything. Because the total goal here is to find the sport that they participate in an activity, because sports teaching leadership. Almost every sport teach teamwork and teach leadership, teach self-control. You want your son to be a leader? Go and participate in the gym. Get him to be in a team, church team, school team, township team, and any type of sports. And the more, the merrier. The third point to be a leader is think and focus on their emotional intelligence. You know, the EI now is becoming such a very important thing in hiring people, promoting people. And emotional intelligence means learning what you say at the right time to the right people with the right way. Learning to be empathic, learning to be sympathetic. If you can show your son or daughter to be that way, then you are teaching your son or daughter to be a leader. Because by being emotionally intelligent, this is going to help them in problem solving. And a problem solver is a leader. If you remember Nehemiah in the Old Testament, Nehemiah was the problem solver. He had many issues and problems for him to build the wall of Jerusalem. And there, by the way, there was so many people against him, but he was a leader. And so many people followed him in the right way. And a lot of his enemies were trying to break his leadership because they were afraid of how strong his leadership. But he was a problem solver and he was an emotionally intelligent person. At one time, he told them, with one hand we build, and with the other hand we hold the sword to defend. He sort of rang on the string of their sympathy and empathy and building the wall, which means a lot to a Jew. You also need to show and teach your son and daughter. Do you think this person meant what he said? Is that the right way I should have answered? Maybe I want you to try of a different way of responding to a situation like this. If you were to face an issue similar to that and play a scenario, play a case, and see how your son or daughter will do it. Like tell them, for example, you're riding the bus and um, somebody, stepped in your foot and it hurts a lot. Would you curse? Would you watch out? How do you respond? How do you react to the person? What if you are the one who stepped on the foot of that person? How do you react? How do you protect yourself? How do you say sorry without also being stepped upon? All of that is called emotional intelligence and more. Show him and show your boy or girl how to feel for the poor, for the sick, for the needy, for the broken. A kid who learns to feel for others, for feeling the empathy and sympathy towards others, is going to be a leader. But the selfish is never going to be a leader. The one who thinks only of his or her own does not care to be a leader. I just received a message, one of the questions saying, I agree with you that we should teach our kids to be leaders. But I have to confess, my son had faced several failures in his life. He is almost becoming a high school, but he failed several classes before and some of the tryouts in training. What do I do to make him a leader? This question is very important because one of the points I was going to come later to, but might as well bring it now, which let's say number 4, embrace failures. Failure is a hardship, is an obstacle, is an embarrassment to your son or daughter. But you can dwell in the failure and keep crying about the failure and keep reprimanding and disciplining your son that he made a failure and he did a wrong thing. But be careful. I am not against to discipline your kid if he is lazy and he failed. But if your kid did his best and he failed, try to teach your child to deal with the failure in a constructive, healthy, nice manner, good way. Failure sometimes is better than repeated successes. I have met so many leaders in my life, and most of them have had major failures in their lives. It could have been an exam failure, it could be emotional failure, it could be loss of a job, loss of health. But believe me, every single one of them who went through a failure became a better leader than a person who his life was so simple and easy. Use the failure to teach your son or daughter life is not always going to be simple, easy, and dandy. It's quite normal that you, my son and daughter, may face obstacles, and teach your kid how to be a leader in front of an obstacle, how to bypass a failure. The failure does not identify and define a person, but the person who is thinking in himself, I will never succeed, then failure became his flag, and failure now will make him a follower. If I were you, mom and dad, make your son or daughter who failed the class or failed the tryout or failed the type of friendship, sit with him or with her. Learn why did they fail? Can they do anything about it? Can you as a mom do anything about it? Maybe they need a class to help. Maybe they need a training. Maybe they need some support, emotional or otherwise. And then tell him, so what? You failed. That's just a drop in a big bucket. That's a tiny step in the whole life, and you'll have millions of steps. Keep up and learn from your failure to be persistent, self control. Don't waste time. Be ready to fight again. Learn from your mistakes to, if it was sports, try out more, work hard more, spend time in trying out more, and so on. So, embracing failure can be also an excellent point towards becoming a leader. Number five, one of the things I found that helps to make our kids to become leaders, join them or take them in trips. I know you as a dad, sometimes you plan the trip and you reserve the car or the aeroplane and the hotel and the trips. I don't want you to do that next time. I want you to bring your daughter and tell her, let us plan the trip together. What are the attractions you think we should see? Let's go to Google Earth and visit before we actually physically visit. What type of car you think we should um, reserve or rent rather, and why? And how much money are we spending? And is it conservative or too much? And then talk about the hotel, the proximity of the hotel to the attractions you're going to visit. Who is going to go with you? What type of documents you need? Make your son or daughter learn how you plan a trip. I can tell you, the father who shares in planning trips with his son, he is making a leader. I just met a father in Toronto last week, and I just remembered it now. His son just spent over a month in Europe, and he was speaking about his son with pride. I can see it in his eyes and the way he's telling about all what he did and all the amount of experiences coming with and the abilities and the faculties that he grew and the responsibilities, not just for himself, he took care of other friends. And then he said a word, you know, I think he has been observing everything I have been doing for the last 5 years. And when his time has come in late high school, he was ready for it. He was a leader. I was proud of the dad as much as I was proud of the son. I'm proud because the dad, without trying, he made his son a real leader by teaching him through participating in making a trip. Okay, let me answer this question. Um, Also, another good question. It's speaking about, I have been trying, if I understand correctly, I have been trying to make my daughter a leader for many years, but I feel that's not her character. Does she have to be a leader? Okay, so I think that tying with the idea of um, teaching through your role model, in my opinion, will make your daughter a leader. But does she need to be a leader? I'm not asking for people to be leaders, in other words, to be priests only or to be chiefs of sections, but I need a leader in your home. I want this young boy who is going to become a husband to be a leader in his household. I want this daughter who is going to grow to be a leader in her home and to be ready to help her younger kids to grow to become also leaders. So, leadership here is to avoid being a follower. I, I don't care if they stand on a podium and speak like Martin Luther King. That's not what I'm after. But I'm after being a leader by imposing their own objectives on themselves and maybe others, not letting other objectives of goals of people to be imposed them on themselves. Maybe that will hurt them. maybe that will make them all be weaker and maybe we'll follow the wrong track. So, to answer your question, you have been trying for years. Who said that there is a timeline for your kids to become a leader? Who said that there is a curriculum of 3 years beyond which you fail the test of becoming a leader? You are mistaken, my sister, mother, the mother of this daughter. You need to keep trying and be patient. You have all the time. And let's make this also one of the numbers. Let's say this is number 7. One of the reasons people use fishing and hunting and especially fishing as a sport to take their sons and daughter in because it's teaching time and patience and waiting. Waiting is a virtue. Our kids are living in a time where patience is not known to them. If the takeaway hamburger from McDonald's delayed 5 minutes, they will all say, "What's going on?" The issue is we became on a rush time to the extent that we cannot anymore be patient. But for raising your children, I ask you please be patient and try more and more and more. And repeated failures does not mean your daughter or son can never or cannot be a leader. So embrace patience and teach patience. Um, and when you are patient with your son or daughter, by you observing and listening, you will learn a lot. I love the mother when her daughter wants to talk to her. She leaves everything out of her hand and she listens, and her eyes in the eyes of her daughter, and she is focused and she is actively listening with her mind and feeling and heart, and all her body is listening to her daughter with patience, even if what she's saying is trivial. So teach patience and embrace patience. Wait for your child to be a leader and don't rush it. It can take years, but who said we have a timeline? And in the same time, let your son or daughter know to become a leader may take years. It may take 10, 15, 20 years. We are all, as adults, are still learning to be leaders in our own rights. That doesn't make us delayed. Our life may end, but at least I am still hoping to be a leader, not because I want just to lead my own people right, but I want to lead myself into Christ and heaven. Okay, number 8, I would like you to foster also not just patience or embrace patience, but embrace creativity. You want your daughter to be a leader? Be, show creativity. Uh, encourage creativity. Tell her, let's paint your wall in your room. What color? And let's investigate the color. Would you like to put anything hanging? Would you try to draw something? Would you like to buy something and stick it to the wall? Planting. What do you want to plant? And be creative in designing things. It could be designing a project for school and think of him, but don't make it for him or her. Um, encourage them to read, encourage them to do artwork. Reading and artwork makes leaders. People who are leaders today, you will find them very knowledgeable, aware of many things, not just religion, but economics and history and geography and geology and who knows what. And when they talk in depth. Teach your son to read and stimulate the reading. Make the reading interesting. Make a club, a book club with him or with her and her friends to the extent that they can even do a Zoom in about a book, and you talk to them. Uh, each one summarize a chapter, and you maybe take them on a trip after, or make a pizza party after they finish the book, and everybody benefited. Another point, I want you to build the leadership characters in your son or daughter, to build the tactic of negotiation. Some of us grew saying, this is it, no negotiation, no bargaining, no questions, you cannot argue with me, my word is the word, and it's an ultimate and final word. And we make our wives or our husbands hurt and our kids hurt because we are not giving a space, a window to negotiate, to try out, to hear the other opinion. Practice negotiation and teach negotiation by making almost a scenario or a role play. Like, for example, I made it one time with my kids when they were young. I told them, okay, you went to a school trip, but you went far and you can't find the teacher. What would you do? It's scary, and I don't want them to do that, but I'm preparing them for something that could happen. You can ask your son or daughter, you lost your phone and you are somewhere else in the mall. What do you do? How do you reach me? How can I pick you up? Also, negotiation means hearing the viewpoint of the counterpart, of the other person. Our kids are learning from us wrong habits. I dare to say some of the husbands do not want to hear the viewpoint of their wives. And the kids are listening very carefully and say, so I shouldn't listen to anybody because dad never listens to mom. Role model again. But I'm not here to talk about you now. I'm talking about your kids. Teach negotiations means teach him to hear the viewpoint of the other person. Some of the best leaders who know how to listen to the other, even if the other's viewpoint is useless, invaluable, or even waste of time. If you teach your son or daughter to be interested in listening to the other viewpoint, you have raised an amazing leader. I wish you start with yourself. You listen to your husband and you listen to your wife and you interact with each other, hearing the viewpoint. Let the kids hear that you are also negotiating and listening, because that's how you make a factory of leaders in your own household. I just received this question. My daughter is always waiting for the deadline to do her exams. She does not, even when she has time, she always finishes either the very late the night before or sometimes the earliest hour of the morning of returning her project back. I have tried so many times. I have fought with her. I have disciplined her, and nothing is working so far. Okay, so that's a very important point and a very important question, and I thank the person who sent it. Because this is what we call procrastination. Leaders are not procrastinators. Although all of us have some level of procrastination, all of us will wait a little bit. But waiting till the last minute, like waiting till last minute to buy that dress that you're supposed to go to, I know, a major important celebration, waiting for the last minute to iron your shirt and you know you have to be downstairs to be picked up, waiting for the last minute to submit a project in school and you know you are going to lose points if you submit it late, waiting for the last point to apply for a job or a volunteer. And our kids sometimes do that. They know it's April 23rd to apply for volunteering and they wait until April 22nd. Yeah, I know. We can procrastinate a little bit, but we need to teach our kids that waiting that long is only going to give the other people the perception that we are not responsible enough. I, as a chief or supervisor on my own hospital, if I find my employees are always procrastinating, I'll pull him out and I'll say, "Are you? Everything's fine? Why are you always delayed in your work? Why you always submit your projects at the last minute? And I can see you had a lot of time you could have done it." If there is a legitimate excuse, fine. But can you imagine you are delaying your work every single time? I wonder who would believe that this is an excusable event every single time. You want to teach your kids to be leaders? Teach them to be responsible for the deadlines. You have a deadline on, say, April 23rd. Then he needs to put an alert to himself a week before, then 3 days before, then a day before. And that's it. He must have done through all these three alerts. Same for your shirt, same for buying a gift for a birthday, same for going to visit somebody, same for everything. To become a leader, you need to be teaching responsibility in your kids, not to procrastinate and delay and wait for the deadline. As I explained before, the role model also plays a role also in procrastination. When they see mom is shopping Christmas gifts the night before they go to grandma, when they see dad always delay to call to pick up his even dry clean right before it closes and maybe the shop closed early that day, they will learn from us. So lead by example, because I want to say a word that's probably known. You are the most important teacher that your child will have in his or her life. All of us have so many teachers that we are indebted to. I still remember some of my very early years teachers because they affected my life. But my most important teacher was my parents. Those are the ones who reflected on me, imposed on me many of their characters, whether good or bad. And you, as a parent, you are the most important teacher in your son's life. So, are you leading by example or not? Okay, so I like this next point, maybe number probably 12, having a family night. And many people during COVID, when I used to tell people, use the time to make your kids friends. Every single family in America and any state I have gone to, the most common question that come to me, my kids don't want to go out with us, our kids do not want to travel with us, our kids sit in home, they don't want to talk to us. And then COVID hit. When COVID hits, I said, okay, guys, you have captive audience. Win them as friends. Make them to be your friends. Play with them. Many families heed my advice and they did it. And unfortunately, many others, every single one was holding a phone and we lost COVID as a good test for us to make the family more friendly and more leader oriented. But to make your kids leaders, play together a family night, especially a board game, a puzzle, something that can make teams, something can make everybody think, because that allows each one to play a part, to play a role, to say, I'm thinking this way. And everyone has his own way to spend the time. And maybe your daughter will say, next week, I want to play this board. And the week after, your son will say, I want to play this week this other game. Have a family night game will produce leaders. 13. Teach some planning skills. One of the things I love, and I'm not sure if it's available in every state or not, going camping, either as a family or maybe dad and son alone, or I know. If you guys love camping, camping is one of the best methods to teach leadership, because you will build the tent together, you will make the fire together, you will pack the car together, you will get the canoes together, you will go looking for whatever in the forest together. And the togetherness is one of the characters for becoming a leader. To plan other skills, like maybe when you are planning a vacation to visit others, let them plan with you, as I said earlier. Let them give their input. I love when I hear a dad wants to buy a car, and then he asks his son, I want you to please investigate for me. My budget is between Toyota, um, Honda, and whatever, Hyundai. And I want you to give me your own opinion in everything, the price, the mileage, the color, the whatever packages they give, if there is discounts or not, if there is a leases or not, whatever. Get your son to work on this. You want to buy a new phone, give him a research. Tell me what to buy and when and how and what type of plan. I dare to say, if you are a mom, ask your daughter to investigate for you if you want to buy something for the kitchen. Let her plan. These planning skills bring a leader. Leaving your daughter all the time on the social media is planning a follower, not a leader. You want your daughter to have a mind of her own and to become a leader? Get her something to do. Let her investigate. Let her research. I just received a question regarding work. My son works every summer in the nearby township library. He has been working every summer for the last 3 years until 11th grade. I feel the work has helped him a lot. It's not about the money. I could have given him the money, but I feel that I have grown my son a lot. I like the comment. Obviously, this is not a question, and I want to add that to become the next point. Encourage work. Not because you want your son to have money and you don't want to give him money, or you don't want to give him allowance, or because you are, God forbid, you are greedy. Work, minimum work. I'm not asking you to bust their chops working too hard and many hours, and no, maybe 2 days a week during the summer or something like that, few hours, to get the taste of responsibility, of waking a certain time, staying at work, leaving at certain time, feeling tired doing all the work, doing the teamwork at work, feeling responsible towards their supervisor. Encourage work, because that will give them enough responsibility. Babysitting. If your daughter would like to do babysitting for a couple of dollars uh, once a week, that's okay. Again, it's it's not the idea of the money. It's the idea of growing up, experience. Like the example I gave you about the Canadian boy that he now is working, and when he went to Europe, this is part of the work, and he grew while he was doing all of that. So that's a very good point. Thank you for the comment. The last point, which I will call it number 15, communications. It sounds very simple and naive, but you cannot grow a leader without you, dad, talking and communicating your mind with your son. When you are about to place your orders in a restaurant, why don't you step back and say, ask the waiter to ask your children what they want to eat? Let them have the menu. Let them go through the menu. Let them choose what they want to eat. What are you going to lose? You are going to give an example to your kids of feeling responsible. They are being asked by the waiter or the waitress, they are looking at the menu, they are looking at what they like to eat, and maybe you tell them, are you going to finish this plate? Do you really like shrimps? That's what you chose. Is that what you want? Fine. And let them choose. What is the worst can happen? They choose a plate that they don't want to eat. Fine. But they learned something. They learned the responsibility that their actions had consequences. They ordered the wrong plate. That's their fault. They grow out of it. They grow up with it. They learn something from it. Many simple things like this, which is give them the confidence in communications. Don't threaten them. I love when I see a mother arguing with her daughter and allowing her to make her points with a lot of strength and confidence, and the mom is not saying, how dare you speak to me? It's good. As long as, of course, there are discipline in the way and respect in the way they speak. So allow them to speak to their servers in the restaurant. Allow your kids to occasionally answer the phone when they want to order something and give them that responsibility. You are growing their leadership skills. Remember, today's age, our kids are going to grow to become screen boys and girls. They are looking at the screen sometimes 12 and 14 hours a day. Can you imagine? You and I, when we were in their ages, we did not have phones or computers or screens, so we were running and playing and all of that. And we knew how to socialize better. I am worried about this generation which is feeling good behind the screen, but they don't have confidence in communicating outside. So it's almost 10 o'clock, and I would like to summarize what I said because it has been very, very helpful, and I am very grateful to the questions that came. Oh, I'm sorry, there is two other questions. Let me try to get them before we finish. My son is 4 years old when I should start teaching about becoming a leader. At what age should I start to worry about his personality? I'm not worried about his personality yet, but starting to become a leader can start now, 3 and 4 years old, meaning talk to him about anything he read. He read a little book. He saw a little um, movie, and you tell him, what, whom do you like in the movie? Why do you like that person in the movie? Mimo, or I don't know what's her name, the fish. What is the good thing about this fish? Because it helps others? Because it loves others? Because it cares about people? Let him come up with ideas. Let him be growing up in the way he's becoming a leader. Um, Another one, play with him a board game and let him try to make mistakes, and you show him, did you move right or left? Are you supposed to go to the right or to the left? All of this. Make him sometimes, when you go to McDonald's, tell him, you speak to the lady, tell her which sandwich you want. He probably can do it, even though he's 4 year old. Is it good to compare our sons with others? Definitely not. Comparison is the worst thing that parents can do to their children. When you say, look at your sister, why? Look at your cousin. Look at Abuna's son. No, why? Your son is so unique, and he happens to have taken the genetic material of you and his mother. So if he is not as good as you wish, sorry, it's your genetic material. But when you compare, what are you trying to tell him? You can say, for example, I know you can do better than that. I am very confident you are smarter than that. I am sure you can do this exercise stronger and faster. Let us try out another time. Let us do the game again. Let us do the test together. Let's go to the gym together. But don't compare. How can we grow our children to become leaders when we live in a social media culture of following others on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter? That's exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing today. Because I have a lot of my kids that I take care of. I worry about them, but I'm always trying to instill in them the leadership qualities because I'm worried about they are following an actor and actresses and sometimes very wrong crowd and wrong objectives and wrong goals. And that's why I want to keep after them to make them to become leaders. Is it easy? Of course not. So your question is right. But you cannot say, how can I grow them? No, you, with the grace of God, you can grow them to become leaders because that's your job. It's your job as a mom and dad. You are the only and most important mentor in their lives. Don't be down because social media is strong. You are stronger. With God's grace, you are much stronger. You can modify their life. I'm not saying take the phones away from them, although there may be times you have to take the phone. Like if we are in dinner, no phone should be here. The phone should be somewhere else. No phones, no mom, no dads, no kids' phones. You talk in the in the dinner. You let them discuss, let them talk, let them express themselves, gives them a space to speak. You make them be involved in sports, any type of sports. It could be biking, it could be racing, it could be swimming, it could be tennis, it could be anything. The more you get them off screens, the more they will learn leadership skills. No leadership skill, zero, by looking at the screen. Zero. They are going to become followers. And God forbid, if you follow the wrong crowd, you will regret it a lot. I wish they are following social media like CYC. I will not say anything about it because at least there are many good things they can follow. But you and I know that this is a small part of that what they watch. But I don't want them even to just watch one area. I want them to practice to become leaders. Your home is the place of practice, of experimenting, so they can grow to become leaders. So I want to finish by saying becoming a leader for your son and daughter is not an option. It's a must, it's obligatory, and our kids must be leaders. And I repeat again, I did not mean leaders meaning standing in a pulpit screaming at people. No, leader meaning able to take decisions, right decisions, able to choose whom to follow if they should follow, able to say no when they must say no to the wrong objective, wrong goal, or wrong path. That's what's a leader. A leader is a good husband, is a good man in the future, is a good son of God and a good daughter of God, is going to be a great servant of God. That's a leader. Is going to be a functioning person in the society that we are proud of. And he is going to be an heir of the kingdom of heaven. This has been Family Matters, how to turn your son or daughter to be a leader. Until we meet again next Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, have a great week. God bless.